Judicial Watch, just shortly before they conducted this raid, we sued for the records he declassified about this Russiagate scandal just before he left office. Now, as Trump has suggested, and I've suggested, I'm convinced that this raid was as much about, there are lots of reasons, I think, for this illicit raid. And one of the reasons was they were concerned that Trump had the goods on them. Like shortly before he left office, he declassified certain Russiagate records that showed the corruption of the Justice Department and the FBI in the targeting of him under the Obama era and during the era of the ascendant deep state that was in control of the FBI and Justice Department that was targeting him even when he was president. And there were other records maybe related to Ukraine that were declassified. I don't know. He says maybe they were worried about Hillary Clinton. He's not saying I had Hillary Clinton's emails. He's just opining, President Trump was, as to what they were nervous about. And one way to ensure that records that are supposed to be declassified and should be potentially available to the American people are kept away is to come in and mislead the courts about the nature of the law and mislead the American people and mislead Congress by saying he had personal records he wasn't supposed to have, or classified records he wasn't supposed to have. Now, Judicial Watch, just shortly before they conducted this raid, we sued for the records he declassified about this Russiagate scandal just before he left office. Now, those records supposedly in large part were at the Justice Department. What better way to say, well, they're not really declassified, as to go and try to find him in his home and say they're classified again. So in many ways, this is a shell game, it looks to me, that the Biden operation is playing by using a false legal analysis to try to classify records or to suggest that records have always been classified when in fact that isn't the case. And of course, the side benefit of that is it puts Trump in legal jeopardy, or at least that's what they hope. So this is the rule of law crisis we're facing. And because Judicial Watch has understood that this scheme was afoot from the get-go, the media has been coming after us. We, back in February, and it's worth repeating, when I learned and Judicial Watch learned that the president had voluntarily turned over records that the National Archives had pretended were presidential records, I'm like, what? I said, what's happening here? This was a completely different legal position than they had beat us with previously on the Clinton sock drawer records. And I started calling attention to this. They're not presidential records, at least as way the Justice Department used to say, at least as the court said, at least as the National Archives said, and they had no business harassing you for them. That was our analysis, and I made that quite clear publicly. So we were fighting this and highlighting this, and then the media, after this raid takes place, they start reporting, oh, that Tom Fitton was advising Trump to keep the classified records. Now, I'm not going to tell the media, and I'm not even going to tell you whether or not I've been, quote, advising Trump on anything. It's none of their business. But I've been quite public that, yes, he has a right to these records, they're personal records, and one solution he could have made, or a compromise if he didn't want to kind of fight tooth and nail on this, was to turn the records over that were in dispute and then just resolve it in the civil context by going to the courts to assert his personal interest in them. But the left is just outraged that I've been telling the truth about this. And they're even more outraged that I might have been telling Trump about this. I mean, and that shows you how really desperate the left is. And of course, they're trying to say, well, Tom Fitton isn't a lawyer. Why is he talking to Trump about this? Or why is he even having an opinion on this? Well, first of all, Judicial Watch is a national watchdog organization that's been litigating records cases for 30 years. So, and of course, this is a policy and constitutional dispute, but I don't need to tell you that. I mean, it shows you how to touch the left would be, that somehow they think criticizing me for not being a lawyer actually persuades people of anything. I have a feeling that many of you probably think more highly of me because I'm not a lawyer. And that being said, Judicial Watch has a great staff of lawyers who do some of the most significant legal work and frankly, in modern history in terms of government accountability. Just to show you how desperate, MSNBC, I think, between two shows, spent 15 minutes attacking me in Judicial Watch. Helpfully, it looks like they either were quoting me, talking about all sorts of issues that they thought would be embarrassing to me, but I'm glad they quoted, because I think certainly viewers on MSNBC need to see it. I think we have a clip here we'll play.
So that's a guy named Tom Fitton. He's like a second, third tier conservative activist, head of the right-wing group Judicial Watch. They've been around for forever. Somewhat ludicrous figure, honestly. I'd put him in the like Ginny Thomas category of the American right. Imagine a more senior James O'Keefe on steroids.
So as you can see from that clip, they're kind of crazed about this, aren't they? And they're attacking me for not being a lawyer, attacking me based on my physical appearance, all very high quality arguments about what, while refusing to address the fundamental issue is, why did the Justice Department, why did the federal government change its position on presidential records to raid Trump's home? That a position now that would require them, for instance, to raid Clinton's home. And who knows how many other former presidents' homes, given their new analysis as to what constitutes records that presidents are allowed to have versus not allowed to have. So my view is the more the media talks about the Clinton sock drawer case and Judicial Watch's involvement in it, the better, because it will help educate more people and further expose the scam, sham, abusive raid on President Trump. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.